doing, trying to stop people for speed, but the nature of the road, I think, probably makes it impossible to do that unobtrusively. In speaking with one of my neighbors across the street, my understanding is that efforts were made for years and years and years, and you may want to talk to that neighbor later tonight, to get the speed enforced, and it seems to not be possible.
Thank you.
Any questions by any of the commissioners for this witness?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what type of device are you using to measure the speed?
Well, what I've done is, my own experience is that I try to go 15 miles an hour, and I know that to go 15 miles an hour, it actually requires some restraint, because even with the car in sort of idle, the car is going to move. So I've gone up and down the street where I've done 15 miles per hour, I've done 20 miles per hour, I've done 25 miles per hour to get a sense for how fast people are moving, and I believe that people are going at about 30 to 35 mostly, and that. But again, that's my eyeball of the.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Highland, did you have one too? I didn't mean to.
No, I'd want to wait till the person comes up who said they've been asking for the speed to be reduced.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Connell?
Doctor, good evening. Chris Connell, what is your primary objective here? Would you the street to privatize the street or traffic safety?
As I stated, we came to the property just in May of this year, and our understanding was that extensive efforts had been made with Lower Merion, and that they had not been willing to participate. And our feeling is that we would like to calm the traffic. We would like to get the speed down to a sensible speed on Panmure, and that it hasn't worked up until this time. But our feeling also strongly, I believe all of us who've done the research along with Dr. Williams believe intensely that it's very, very clear both that the road was never accepted as a public road. We also believe that it can't be made safe because it's not wide enough currently to be a legally opened public road. We also believe that in order for, I don't know if I should go into this, but if you want me to go into this, but in order for, that nobody ever really realized that they were using it in an adverse manner.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Connell?
So I just want so do you feel that the only way then for your street to be safe in your perspective is that the street would have to be closed off or private to just those residents, that it no longer be a public road?
I don't, yes, but not closed off. Our belief is that there's no, from the research we've done, that there's no legislative way, there's no public ordinance available to us, and that our initial efforts, I should say Dr. Williams' initial efforts at informally talking with the township about speed bumps on that road, that people just said it's never going to happen. There's just too many reasons why it won't ever happen. So
I don't.
there are two separate issues. One is that we believe that we do in fact own the road. And then the second issue is then how do we control traffic on the road? I think they're two separate issues.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next witness, please, Ms. Edwards.
Mr. Morcell?
Get Mr. Morcell sworn in as well, okay?
Sure.
Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name, please, and spell your last.
Yeah, Michael Morsell, Morsell.
It's on. Just if you keep your voice up, you'll be good.
Okay.
Okay?
Your address.
Now, do I, I'd rather just speak. Do I have to go through this or no?
Our show.
I didn't realize I was that.
I'm not.
It's not your fault. I just rather tell it like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, what's your address?
Let me get a couple of things.
715
715, okay.
Panmure Road.
You have,
Thank you.
There'll be a portion of the meeting if people want to make comments on their own. My suggestion to you would be that right now you just answer the questions of the lawyer.
Do you own that property?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
July of 2011.
And is your home located on the portion of Panmure Road that is the subject of tonight's application?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So, once again, for me, it's back to safety. I have 3 kids under 6, and a few things. Jeff has been very helpful to us in multiple ways. Our neighbor before the Divines, we don't need to bring that story up, but Sergeant Scott was out there and Commissioner Hellman was out there. So we appreciate what you guys did for that. Very responsive. We ironically use Old Buck, our back driveway, a little bit more than Panmure. So it's my understanding that the speed bumps were denied on Panmure, and I believe privatizing the road is the most direct way to get something done on Old Buck, as well as something on Panmure. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, could I make a statement? Actually, we've never actually gone into the study to deny speed humps. You know, I never made the statement that it couldn't happen. In fact, I had asked, I think, Laurie the other day, Dave Panoni the other day as well, to look into it to see if it is at all possible, if they can find any way it's possible.
Yes.
So, you know, it's never been denied. It's
Okay,
never,
I've
yeah.
signed 3 petitions.
Yeah, but it's,
One was for one. I'm just telling you what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much, but that's all I know.
right.
I signed a one-way petition, I signed a speed bumps petition, and I just signed the privacy petition. And all I know is if it's less than 1,000 feet and there's less than 1,000 cars, that the speed humps would not be accessible. And then a one-way couplet was denied by Lower Merion. I thought the next logical step is to try to take it private,
Right.
put on speed bumps, then let's start working on Old Buck and Buck for our neighbors.
Right, well, the thing is, we never did the traffic study, so they were never denied. And the reason we didn't do it, it was gonna be done, and school was not in session, that's why it wasn't done.
I thought this
So-
was over 18 months ago, frankly, but
No,
I should have copies of what I signed, I guess.
Okay. Anything else?
no.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Another witness?
John Heon?
We'll have to swear Mr. Heon in as well.
Promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And say your full name, spell your last.
John Heon, I'm sorry, with last first, I'm sorry. Heon, H-E-O-N, and John, J-O-H-N.
And where do you live?
I live in Haverford, 429 Montgomery Avenue.
And what experience do you have with this portion of Panmure Road?
Well, I cycle between my office in Bryn Mawr and my residence in Haverford basically every day. And it's a nice route to take except for that one spot because so often cars are speeding and it's especially dangerous because they come out at the curve and if you're going where you should be legally on a bicycle at that curve, you will be in danger of getting hit by a car. Now, I'm a very experienced cyclist. I've cycled across the country. I've cycled in New York City. I cycle in Philadelphia regularly. And this little spot where you think you're going to be safe is one of the least safe. So it's something that I can attest to. On a daily basis, you'll see it is dangerous, especially for kids. When I drive there, I've seen the same types of things the drivers have attested to. When I walk there, the same types of things the pedestrians have attested to. So it is a very bad spot. Anything that could reduce the speed there, be safer for cyclists, pedestrians, and drivers.
Any
Well,
questions?
I'd just like to say, as a Lower Merion person, I'm glad you did get a say. Okay, thank you.
And James Melia. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And state your full name, spell your last.
Okay. James Michael Melia, M-E-L-I-A.
By whom are you employed?
I am employed by Dr. John Williams.
Okay. And have you ever visited Dr. Williams' residence on Panmure Road?
Yes.
Could you describe the circumstances of that?
Well, I live with them. moved down here from Massachusetts back in May, and I took a job as his assistant. And so I frequently travel on that road a lot, and I see exactly what everybody else sees. I think for a road that size, it's just crazy how fast people go down. I mean, I come from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and people drive much better up there than down here on that kind of road. And on August 17th, I was actually coming down Panmure. I don't really know which direction I was going in. I was going towards the curve that way. And at the four-way stop, I proceeded to stop, and going through, I was hit by a driver that failed to stop at the stop sign. And that kind of accident goes to show you how, how serious an accident can be, because I lost control of the vehicle, went up onto the 701 property, and then veered across Panmure and hit the stone wall that was owned by 700. And that four-way stop there, also, along with that curve, I find to be quite dangerous. I have walked that route before with Dr. John Williams' daughter to play tennis at night, and people go flying through there. And, my eyesight, I can't predict, the accuracy of speed, but I would say they were going 30, 35 miles an hour easily. There's no question. The posting of that road is 15. I can't tell you anybody really besides some people that live on that road that actually go 15 miles an hour.
The accident that you were involved in, was there damage to the vehicle?
Yeah, the car was totaled. The Volvo was totaled.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, any commissioners?
I'm sorry. Can I just ask a
Sure.
question? I'm not, you got into an accident not at the bend, at the intersection with Buck Lane and?
And that's your car that he totaled? Okay. Because you said you lost your Volvo, and that's the Volvo you lost? Okay, just wanted to...
Just so the record's clear, we're referring to Dr. Williams now, right?
Yeah, I'm
When you
sorry,
say your-
Dr.
okay.
Williams.
Okay. Commissioner McGarity has a question?
Well, I guess I'm confused, the Lori's question, because you ended up on 701. Is that right there on that corner? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And means yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I've never been on TV.
Okay.
A little bit of an amateur.
Okay, anything else?
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
All right.
Next witness?
Dr. Williams, I believe, wants to respond to some of the points that have been made.
Okay.
That's-
You can sit now. Thank you very much. Right, you're still sworn in.
I think there, as Dr. Devine said tonight, there are two issues that have been brought up. One is safety. We fully support the one-way effort of making Panmure one-way and Old Buck. The other issue is what has come in our research is an issue of property and of private property and our rights. And I'm here tonight to ask you, regardless of what Scott Zelov might say, or what Steve Linder might say, or what the commissioners of Lower Merion Township, who I do not pay taxes to, regardless of what they might say, I would ask you tonight to respect, looking at the law, doing the research, looking at to respect our property rights. Because if we move to a society where just because someone else doesn't want our property rights to be respected, we're sunk. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other witnesses or any other evidence that you want to offer tonight? Okay, so then right now we're going to move to the public portion of the meeting, okay? And I'll ask if anybody on the my left-hand side of the room has anything they'd like to add to this hearing? And we'll come up
go in
one at
order,
a time,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, ma'am, in
Go in order.
the second row.
There's somebody in the second
Ma'am?
row. And again, since this is a hearing, we're going to have to swear each of you in as you come up, okay?
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name for the record, please.
Elizabeth McIntosh, MacIntosh. I live at 523 Panmure, if this is on, and that is, I'm sorry, 523 Oakley. It's late.
Oakley,
And,
okay.
that is parallel to Panmure, the 500 block. I just want to say that we've been in our house for 35 years. My husband's family were there for 13 before. So we can attest to almost 50 years of the traffic on that street. And recently, especially since the Lexus dealer, it has become much worse with road testing cars and the new facility. Also, Haverford College students walk up the road. They're in danger. Haverford school students are in danger, and pedestrians. And what we haven't mentioned is that commuters cut through there very, very fast, trying to find a different way between Haverford Road and Lancaster. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for anybody?
Yeah, my question is where your concern is about
The traffic
the traffic on
Panmure.
Panmure, okay? And you're not really referring to Railroad?
No.
Where Oakley comes out
But
to?
people take that as a shortcut. They come up Oakley, which is a dead end. They think they've found Mecca. They come zipping up there and leaving from the same frustration.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Edwards, you have no questions?
No question.
Okay. And now, anybody else in the second row? No? The third row? Okay.
Second row.
Oh,
I
there's
think we
another
got
one
a
in the
hand.
second
We
row,
got
okay.
more second row people here.
Sorry.
Mm.
Guy in the third row. He's hurt.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And say your full name, spell your last.
It's Dr. Alexandra Taylor, Taylor.
Thank you.
I am the wife of Dr. John Devine, who you heard from earlier. And as a recent resident of Panmure, I would just like to reiterate our feeling that we are quite surprised by the speed at which people do take the curve. And we do understand that there were previous efforts made and that at this point it does appear that going toward privatization is the way to really limit speed and also address the issue of the property owner's rights. My daughter just pointed out with the one-way issue that really won't control the speed. It may cut the traffic in half, but people will still take that corner at top speed if possible.
Or faster.
Or potentially faster. I do see we do walk quite a bit, and we do go behind Old Buck, of which our property is abuts as well. And people do slow down through there, I think, because of the traffic that is parked. But I am a pediatric emergency medicine physician, and I can attest to the damage that I see when there are people hit by cars. And I can tell you that our own children and several of the other children on the street play frequently and are at risk just crossing the street because of the blindness of the curve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else in that second row? Okay, third row.
He's been waiting forever.
Don't even forget you.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. State your full name, spell your last.
It's Richard Umbrecht, U-M-B-R-E-C-H-T. Good evening. I am the treasurer and member of the board of the Mainline Arts Center. First of all, let me just state that we are fully supportive of traffic control measures, whether it be the one-way coupling, whether it be speed bumps or other lower speed limits. That we're fully supportive of. Our concern is with the proposal of vacation. Now, we learned some things tonight that obviously have to be further investigated. First, there's the issue of whether the road is already a private road or not. We will point out that apparently since 1916 it has been used essentially as a public road. On the vacation issue, we were made aware this evening that the proposal does not apply to the proper portion of the road that abuts our property, but I understand there's also questions as to whether that's legally possible, as to whether you can vacate just the middle portion of a road. So we would ask that to the extent, we would ask to continue to be named as a party to the proceedings so that we're kept advised of this, even though that may not affect us. So that as a is a technical matter. I just have a couple of remarks. First of all, I'd just like to address the legal standard as I understand it as to vacation. As I understand it, based upon the Commonwealth Court, the standard is you cannot vacate a road unless it is become useless, inconvenient, or burdensome. We think it's a pretty high standard. It's pretty obvious from the testimony tonight that the road is widely used by a public, including non-residents of the road. It's clearly used by staff and visitors to the Mainline Arts Center. And so it is our contention that standard for vacation could not be met if the road is in fact treated as equivalent to a public road. Secondly, our biggest concern is really sort of twofold in terms of our issues. We would, as a nonprofit institution, we simply have no funds available to pay for snow plowing and to repair the road and maintenance of the road and streetlights and things like that. So our objection to having that cost imposed on us is our financial objection. And secondarily, the road is used by our staff and visitors to the Arts Center. And in fact, given the construction of the road there, if that road were to be closed, as an example, it would force traffic out onto the intersection with Lancaster Avenue or into Old Buck, and those are also very, very dangerous intersections. So we think the public interest would be best served by a solution that involved some safety measures that would perhaps have already been discussed rather than vacating the road. Thank you.
Okay,
I have a few questions.
Okay, Ms. Edwards, okay.
Okay.
You mentioned that, or you stated, I guess, that the road has been used as a public road since 1916. On what do you base that?
Based upon what I heard tonight from the people in this room.
Okay, so you don't have any independent knowledge that it's was actually
I've
used
driven,
as a public road?
I've driven on that road.
Since 1916?
Not since 1916. I'm not quite that old.
Okay. The legal standard that you mentioned includes burdensome. Okay. And wouldn't you agree that the condition of that road, based on all the testimony, is burdensome on the residents?
No, I don't believe so. I think the burdensome standard here really relates to the cost to the township to maintain, as I understand from the cases, to maintain and improve a road that is in very bad condition. That's my understanding. That's my understanding, yes.
And finally, you mentioned that the one reason that you're opposed to the application is the financial burden on the Art Center.
Yes.
But in fact, the portion of the road that's requested does not include the portion on which the Art Center abuts. Are you aware of that?
We were made aware of that just this evening when we were originally approached about this. We were told the entire road, to the extent that it can legally be vacated without affecting our property, that particular objection goes away. We still have the concern about convenience for our employees and for our patrons.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the map of Panmure here, and it looks like the Art Center has up until that turn, almost up until that turn on the,
That's my understanding.
yeah. Okay, so they would be responsible for that portion of the road.
That portion of the road is not part of this application, so they're not affected by the application. They're not, their property, they don't abut any portion of the road that's the subject of the application.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Any other
Looking
questions?
at it, it looks like it's the area in which at the end of the turn is their property.
Part of the vacation.
Okay, we can,
Say they always say.
okay,
I have a
One question.
all right, good.
Mr. Albrecht, you're here representing the Mainline Art.
That's right.
Okay. And you represent the staff or the membership or all of them?
I'm a member
You're
of
speaking on their behalf?
I'm a member of the board, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of those persons.
Okay, and Mr. Solicitor, would the membership of that organization be given an opportunity to have their opinions made, or
I'm not,
if you're here representing them, I'm wondering if
Yeah, I'm not sure how that organization runs. I mean, that would be, however their own bylaws would speak to that. If they wanted to come to the hearing, they're certainly invited to come to the hearing and
Right.
could make
But-
comment.
But you're here representing everyone collectively from the main. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Solicitor. Sir, I think you testified that you drive up that street regularly?
Not regularly, but on occasion.
On occasion, okay. And the staff that you represent, do they drive on it to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, that, yes, they,
How often? Regularly?
I would assume to the extent that's within their normal
Okay.
commuting route, it would be every day.
So have they expressed to you their concern about the road?
Yes.
Ever?
I mean, about the safety of the road?
Yes.
I have not had, until this issue arose, I had not heard anything about it. I did hear that there were issues that the residents were concerned about speeding on the road and that they were requesting a vacation for that reason. So that's my knowledge of the conditions from people on the staff.
So I guess to sum it up, you don't know of any complaints regarding traffic, or they haven't been concerned about someone almost getting hit, speeding?
I'm not personally aware of any complaints,
Yeah,
other than
okay.
as I've heard tonight.
And you haven't seen anyone speed when you're driving up there? You haven't been concerned for someone coming in the opposite direction at all?
It is a narrow road. I was not particularly concerned, but I don't believe I sped when I was driving down it.
Okay?
I'm sorry, I just need some clarification on this, because I'm looking at the map, and from looking at the description here, it says, petitioners seek the vacation of a portion of the 700 block from the northeast corner of the partial of 730. 730 is right here, am I correct?
Well, let's get Ms. Edwards to
Where's right
respond.
here?
Okay?
You gotta kind of just
Yeah.
Where do you need to
Well,
get
it looks
witnesses?
like it's the corner of, looks like the corner of, what is that? County line?
Okay, let's just, what is it that we're looking at? So do we have that?
We're
for
looking
the-
at a
for-
map of Panmure Road.
Okay,
Let me
is it in evidence or not in evidence?
Not in evidence.
Okay,
We can take this map here.
okay, that's what we should
Okay, so the
probably
map
do.
A2, if you look at A2,
Oh, here's the.
you're talking about the
here's what
vacation
it's
of
looking
7,
like right there.
from 7:30.
You want to come around here?
Come over here. Okay, you're saying from 7:30. 7:30 is right on the corner here.
No, that's 7:31. This is 7:30.
Okay,
It's-
see, now that makes sense. Okay.
Say this, John, can
Right.
you describe a little better? so
It
people
is,
sort
it is the portion, it is the property which abuts the Mainline Arts Center on that side.
Right, because the map I'm looking at shows this is 7:30, so
No, that's 7:31.
31, so 7:30.
Exactly.
You got it, okay, thank you.
of- When you say that side of the road, would it be the left-hand side of the road as we look at A2?
It would be
It would be-
the
yes.
left-hand southern side, southwestern side of the road.
Okay. But there's no directional.
This is due north.
So, right, but there's nothing on the plan itself, so if you're looking at the road, you're talking about the left side of the road.
The left side of the road is right.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
that's cleared up.
Okay, any other questions of this witness? Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the third row? No? Anybody in the last row back there? Okay, come on up. As she's coming up off the record, we should give the court reporter a hand because she not only did that backwards, but with the witnesses back to her.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do. And state your full name, please.
Amanda Birch, B-U-R-C-H. And I'm a resident of Oakley Road, 505 Oakley Road, which, as Betsy McIntosh
I'm
said.
sorry, you're a little fast.
Sorry,
What's your
505,
address?
505 Oakley Road.
Nice and slow.
And I just think that the residents of Panmure Road have really brought up some serious problems that are in our community. It certainly affects them directly every day. I cut through there maybe 4 times a day on my way home. That's the way I go, and I'm always afraid when I'm coming from the west going east, and I'm always nervous at that curve. I always have to maybe hug the side of the road a little bit tighter because someone is inevitably going to drift over into my lane. So it is a very, very serious problem. The people that, at that 4-way stop at Panmure and Buck, people coming up Buck Lane fly through there every day. When I come to that stop sign, I have to really be careful and nudge out just a little bit further to make sure that I'm not going to get hit. And you would think I should go another way home.
That's my question, yeah.
I mean, that's the way, that's my beat. That's the way I go. I can go another way. It would be more inconvenient for me, but this community really suffers from the amount of traffic. And that 2006 study, I think if you did another one today, you'd find that many, many more people are there. The Haverford Friends School added another grade, I think, within the last 8 years, so that I'm not sure if that brings a lot more kids in there, but I'm sure it adds to the traffic. And the school with their facilities, with their fields that are being rented out every weekend and most evenings. I mean, there is a ton of traffic that comes through there with the camps. I mean, this neighborhood has been encroached upon pretty much yearly with outside outside teams, outside players, outside communities kind of cutting through here, and I think it's really beyond time. We should address Railroad Avenue, Buck Lane, and immediately these families on Panmure Road.
Thank you. Any questions? Any question? Okay, thank you. Okay, we were at the last row back there on the left, I think. Okay.
I am concerned also about the 500 block, because if that were to become a private road and the Haverford School were be able to close that road, that would be a problem. I was a former president of the Brentford Civic Association, so I have worked with these plans before, and it was my understanding that it could never be closed, but now that scares me.
Okay.
One
Commissioner Connell.
quick question, and I'm with the understanding that one block it's okay. If it were closed, the other block would not be okay by the school.
What do you mean by this?
Which portion?
But the
if-
500 block, I would not want. The one by the one where the school owns all the property.
You would not want closed, but it was okay if the other block would be closed.
Well,
700
whatever
block,
needs
yeah.
to be done to keep those families safe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That last row on the left, my left. Anyone else? No? Okay. First row.
Yes. And say your full name. Jane Williams. I am the grandmother of 3 of the children who live on the street and the mother of John Williams. And I think the word burdensome is grossly under describing the problem on Panmure Road. Actually, shortly after my son and daughter-in-law moved into the house, I believe it was 2012, I was driving east on Panmure Road around the curve and was actually run off the road onto their property by a car coming the other direction. It's extremely dangerous, and when I think of my grandchildren being on that road and being able to even walk 1 block to school, it's not possible. It's just, it's not possible. So I would ask you to consider taking some steps to make it much more safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Give her address?
I think she did. Yeah, did you give your address?
No, just for the record.
My address is, you want the street, 545 Scott Road, Gladwin.
Okay. Just for the record.
That's good.
I don't
Yeah,
know if she.
that's good. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good.
545 where?
545, what'd you say?
Scott Road.
Scott Road. Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else in the first row? Next row? Okay.
Is Alexa Aldridge, Aldridge, 800 College Avenue. That may seem like a long distance from Panmure, but it isn't. I too take the Panmure every day. And our whole area, as you know, is really busy and fast. And I just want to hope that you might look at a larger picture than a little segment. And we have lived there for 50 years. And you can imagine how college and railroad had changed in 50 years. But 20, 25, 30 years ago, people started plowing through our fences, 10 fence pieces at a time. And we did work with Mr. Pennell, which you may or may not remember. And it resulted in our giving part of our property to township, and they did that triangle at the corner of College and Railroad. The only reason I mention it is that there are kind of ways that one may be able to work with a township without addressing just a small portion that may in fact very much impact roads around. And I think we're all concerned about safety, but I think there may be a bigger picture than just a small section.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Witness? No? Okay. Sir, I know you had a letter that you wanted me to look at earlier tonight. Would you still like me to look at that?
No, it was a document because I thought you should have it. It's been handled 10 times since we've been here.
So you no longer wish to hand the document up?
No.
Okay. Okay, and your name, I'm sorry, sir.
Fred Aldridge, I belong to this one.
Okay.
And I fully support her testimony, and I swear that's the truth too.
Okay.
Smart man.
Very smart man.
Okay. Anyone else in the second row?
Confirm.
Okay, very good. State your full name.
Rod Wolfson, trustee and property clerk, Friends School Haverford.
And
Wolfson. So on behalf of Friends School Haverford, we're on Buck Lane. We just wanted to join the community and state that we are also concerned about safety in the neighborhood and believe that there are a variety of traffic calming measures that should be possible and appreciate you addressing them. We also believe that the issue should be addressed in a neighborhood-wide fashion rather than just benefiting one small group. So that, for example, I, as an architect, would encourage you in looking at a traffic study to consider the whole neighborhood, of a number of the streets there and the traffic in both directions on a number of the streets there to look at the full pattern would give you a more holistic view. I think that would be helpful, and I'm optimistic that from that there are a variety of traffic calming solutions that will help the Panmure residents. I just want to correct the record in terms of the population at Friends School Haverford. When we added a 7th and 8th grade, we did not expand the population beyond its historic high. The historic high of the school was around in 1990 when the school had about 200 students, and at that time there were 2 classes at a number of the grade levels. Now there's only 1 class at each grade level, so there's a lot fewer than the historic high, and we have no intention of ever exceeding the historic high at Friends School Haverford, so we've not increased the population. It also asked that in looking for a solution, consider, in looking at privatization, what would the effect be if snow plowing is privatized on ambulances and fire engines, if the snow plowing didn't happen as quickly as the public snow plows would occur? Would trash cans get pushed to the end of the street along Buck Lane? So I hope all those kind of considerations would go into looking at a privatization question. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
I don't have any.
No, I believe.
Oh, good, I'm sorry. Sure. No, I think the board was okay. Okay, good.
You mentioned that holistic traffic
Yes.
Right, but I don't know if you had the opportunity to hear the testimony that traffic calming devices are not available for it as a public road because it doesn't meet the criteria.
My understanding is that there are 3 guidelines about traffic calming, and that there's been no decision about whether speed bumps, which is one technique, but there are other techniques.
We heard the police officer testify that it did not meet the criteria.
I've heard another criteria doesn't mean that the township couldn't decide to put them in. And there are other methods of traffic calming that with a traffic study could be recommended, such as cobblestones at the end of the street. There's something called tabletop where
Well,
they
there's
raise
plenty
the...
of traffic calming techniques. It's a question of whether or not it would be permitted on this road.
So
Under the township ordinances.
He didn't say it wasn't permitted under the ordinance. I didn't hear
You didn't
the
understand
officer.
that being the case?
I understood what he said, and he did not say it wasn't against the ordinance.
Right.
And also, they are guidelines, are they not, for the speed humps? They're not, isn't that correct? Dave, do you know that? Dave Panoni? I believe they're guidelines for the speed humps.
I have
don't
to take a
think
look at
they're.
it, I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
You can answer, right?
It's an ordinance that this township passed, I believe, 10 to 15 years ago. I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but the ordinance does set certain criteria, some of which officers are right about, minimum traffic counts, the 85th percentile speed, petitions from residents, drainage, and driveways. I don't know without the ordinance in front of me, which I guess I have in front of me, if the guidelines or requirements. If you give me a minute, I'll read it.
Okay.
And check.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's, while Mr. Panoni's reading that, and we'll give you an opportunity to cross-examine him on that, but are there any other questions of this witness? I'm sorry.
Sir. Yeah, Mr. Wilson, thank you very much for supporting traffic calming in the neighborhood. One quick question. Has the school ever sent out any correspondence to the student body, parents, whichever the case may be, that traffic in the neighborhood, as far as traffic safety in the neighborhood, making them aware if there are issues or anything, has anything been handed out to the people in the neighborhood? I mean, with your student body about that?
So I'm not aware that there's been specific notices to parents to drive more safely, that there's never been called to our attention that our parents are particularly dangerous drivers.
No, not that they are,
Yeah.
but just that they're aware that they're going through residential neighborhoods, a residential neighborhood, what have you. Do you know, has anybody ever come to the board of the school to say, you know what, there's issues in the neighborhood with traffic, speeding, or a lot of accidents or anything, or they had any issues?
No.
Have they experienced any issues? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think, did you have any questions, Ms. Edwards, of this witness? No? Okay, and then Mr. Panoni, you want to come back and we'll get you back for...
Sure, I mean, the officer was kind enough to give me a copy of the ordinance. It does state very clearly, the chapter is to establish guidelines for the installation of traffic calming systems. And this particular ordinance that we drafted, again, I think it was 10-plus years ago, specifically addresses speed humps as a traffic calming device. The stuff we talked about earlier, bumping out curbs, narrowing roads, roadway configuration. Is not
Cobblestones,
addressed
as Mr. Hill, was it? Wolfson. Oh, sorry. Why'd I get Hill? I don't know. But, yeah, but like the cobblestones, any of that stuff, that wouldn't be like different other traffic calming things would not.
Numerous traffic calming methods available.
Right.
All right, some of which
Speed
are
humps is
one-way
speed humps is the only one we actually address.
Speed humps is the one that's addressed in this ordinance.
Okay.
It's not the only one that we haven't implemented in the township, it's the only one addressed in the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hang on one second. what was your question? What is,
What is the ordinance?
could you tell us what the ordinance is, Mr. Perno?
The ordinance is chapter 169, traffic calming devices.
It's an ordinance number P8.
Yeah, he wants a number.
2012.
Up top, Dave.
No, it can't be.
Doesn't have the ordinance number on it.
It can't be
Okay.
2012 because the ordinance was passed
Right,
8
it was
years
passed
ago.
10 years ago, yeah,
Can I
yeah.
just- Can I just, a P number on an ordinance denotes a proposed ordinance, not an adopted ordinance. And the ordinance would be referenced in chapter 169 of the general laws, and it's referenced here as ordinance 2451. So once it's adopted, it's assigned a regular ordinance number.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
May I ask?
Yes, you can, mhm.
I haven't seen the ordinance, but can you tell me, would that ordinance allow the speed bumps on Panmure?
What the ordinance does is it establishes criteria
Right.
to determine whether a request, a petition it gives guidelines to establish the criteria for installing speed humps.
So does Panmure meet the criteria
I don't know the answer to that.
based on what the officer, the information the officer provided?
I would have to look, I would have to look at all the details, read the ordinance, fact check it against what the officer's traffic study is. Look at it, the location myself, because there's also a criteria about drainage, locations of driveways. So I certainly couldn't answer that just for that, I haven't looked at it.
So there have been questions